Der Herr Karliczek, ich schaue mal nach, ja, Nextcloud ist er. Nein, wir kennen uns schon viele, viele Jahre aus der Open-Source-Welt. Und sein Thema heute ist die Bedeutung von verteilten Cloud-Services für die vernetzte Mobilität und IoT. Die Bühne gehört dir. Viel Spaß für die nächsten 20 Minuten.
Danke. I got a request to do the talk in English. I hope that's okay for everyone.
What?
Yeah. The slides are in English anyway, so and most of the terms are English terms, so I hope that works for everyone. Yeah, thanks a lot. The topic of the talk today is federated cloud services. So this talks about obviously cloud services, but especially the importance of have them federated and distributed, not centralized. First, I want to give a little bit of an introduction about me and also the Nextcloud company and project, some success factors of the internet. I don't want to give you a history lesson here, but I actually think it's very important to understand the context of what's happening here at the moment. Then a little bit about cloud computing today, federation, and then Nextcloud. I hope at the end we still have time for some questions. That's always the most interesting part for me, but we only have 20 minutes, so I will have to speed up a bit here. Okay, introduction. Frank Karliczek is my name. I'm actually from the region here. I was born in Reutlingen, studied in Tübingen here. I'm an open source developer for a long, long time, for over 20 years now. At the beginning only as a hobby. In my professional career I worked at different internet companies, startups, and after 10 years I was able to basically combine both things together. So since 10 years I'm doing open source as my main job. I'm probably most well known nowadays as the founder of OwnCloud, the OwnCloud open source project and OwnCloud the company, and nowadays a little bit about this later, Nextcloud, the successor of it. So what is Nextcloud? Nextcloud is an open source project in the company, which is 6 months old now. It was founded here in Stuttgart. The idea behind this is that we wanted to learn from the past and make a real sustainable company and a real sustainable open source project. So something that wasn't really the case in the OwnCloud days. And I'm really happy to report that we are really successful with that. So as of yesterday, we are actually already profitable, and we have 24 people employed, and we are looking for more. So this works quite well. So what we are doing here is we're building a solution, a software that enables companies and users to protect their data. So a little bit more about this later. So success factors of the internet. What made the internet big and successful? The people from here who are a little bit older, as I am, remember that it wasn't always clear that the internet is the winner. So there were solutions like CompuServe or AOL or even BTX in Germany as competitors, but the internet won. So why was that? I think the reason for that is obvious, because the internet was open, which is a funny coincidence, but it's also the name of this conference here. So the internet won because it was open. So what does it mean to be open? Open means a lot of different things. Open means the internet is an infrastructure, a fully peer-to-peer distributed federated infrastructure, where basically everyone can talk to each other. There's no central instance, there's no central internet server, there's no central company that controls the internet, there is no central database or some central user management or something. It's really completely federated. So everyone can be a client and everyone can be a server. That's very important. Another thing that's super important is that all protocols and all APIs are completely open. So everyone can implement something and can innovate on top of it. That's absolutely key. Another thing that's key is that all the basic infrastructure is open source. So if you look into like a name service or an FTP server or a network stack or whatever you want, everything is open source and available for everyone, and you can innovate on top of it. Another thing which is nowadays a little bit of a loaded term is net neutrality. I don't want to go into politics here too much, but it was basically the idea that you only need to connect yourself to the internet somewhere, and then you can profit from all the infrastructure that's built by other people. It's like you build a small road from your house to the main street, and once you connected your house to the main street, then you can basically take your car and drive to anywhere you want in the world. That's the idea behind the internet, and that's very important. The most important thing is, of course, that everyone can innovate on top of it, and there's no vendor lock-in. So that's the success factors why the internet won against the closed proprietary services. Okay, if you go through these services and you look at the very old ones, I mean, at the beginning, of course, you have the FTP service, you have email, you have IRC, you have the web itself and other services. And the benefit behind that is basically there is no central company that controls those services. There's no central web server. So everyone can create a server with open protocols and open source, connect it to the internet, and then you're running a service. And everyone can talk to each other, fully federated and fully distributed. So that's the idea. And this is the success factor. Okay, if you look at the newer services here, for example, video voice communication, I mean, this is nowadays done by Skype or Google Hangouts or by, I don't know, WhatsApp video calling or something. Those services are not open anymore. They're not open source. There are no open protocols. They are hosted only once on this planet by the company who controls it, and you can't really build on top of it. It's no longer an open platform, and that's a problem. It's a similar thing with social networking, right? Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and so on. Those are no longer open services. The source code is not open, the APIs are not open, you can't build anything on top of it. So the original ideas, and I could go through the list, this is the case for a lot of services nowadays. The original idea of the internet to be a really open platform for everyone, that's no longer the case. I mean, IoT, automotive are topics here, right? If you have your fridge or your light bulb connected to the internet, those devices that talk to exactly one cloud service, usually the one from the manufacturer of the device. And you can't decide, no, I want to connect my light bulb to a different cloud service. This doesn't work. You can't build a competing service. You can't say, okay, this light bulb, I have a better service, or I no longer like the other one, I want to migrate my data over or something. This doesn't work anymore. With automotive, it's the same. If you look into the electric cars and all the new functionality that's built into the cars, they're all connected to one backend. It's no longer open. And of course, the last topic, which is especially important for me, files you can share. If you look into Dropbox or Google Drive or OneDrive, there are services which are not open source, they're not federated, they're not distributed, they exist only once. So what we are doing here, we basically have a future here. I mean, it's already the present, but especially the future, which is against the principles of the internet, which is a problem. Okay? So cloud computing today, you can basically look at it like that. You have like a central instance, usually controlled by one company, by one entity, and then you have all the consumers or companies connect to the central service, and the central service sits in the middle of it, like a spider in the middle of a network, of a spider web, and this is basically the instance which is controlled. Something that never existed for the web or other services or email or something like that. And that's obviously a problem. That's a problem in several areas. First of all, proprietary software. You can't look into it, you can't innovate, you can't change it. Obviously, it's a problem for the cost, because if a lot of people or companies depend on like one provider, if like everybody's migrating their infrastructure to Amazon, for example, well, Amazon can control the cost in 5 years. That's a problem. Then the speed. I mean, we have powerful local networking. If basically the internet means that everybody is connected to the same infrastructure, which might be hosted on the other side of the planet, That's obviously a problem with speed. Legal issues, right? We're here in Germany, in Europe, we care about data protection laws, we care about privacy. That's something that can't be guaranteed by an infrastructure like that. Backdoors, espionage, very important topics for our industry. So basically this infrastructure, where everybody's using one service, this doesn't work. So this leads to the second generation of cloud services. So this is something where we say, okay, no problem, we are building open source replacements. So we're building like open source replacements for Dropbox, for example. This is what we're doing with Nextcloud, but there are other projects which do something similar. There's like Spreed, which is a self-hosted video conferencing system. There is a Diaspora, a self-hosted social network, and so on. So that's obviously the solution, right? Because now we have control, we have like our own social network in our company, we have our own Dropbox in our university, and so on. Great. Well, not really, because you already see the problem. Because what we have here are lots of isolated islands. So let's say I'm at a university and I'm using their file service here, and I'm use this, and someone else uses something in the company or the service provider. I can't work together. I protect my privacy, that's awesome, but I can't collaborate anymore. And this leads to the third generation, and this is federation. So this is, in our opinion, the very important next logical step. Because here, you have lots and lots of different instances, and those instances can be like small ARM devices, like the Spreed box, for example, or they can be big clusters for millions of users, it doesn't matter. But the important thing is that they can be self-hosted, but you can still communicate with each other. So someone who has like an account here can maybe call someone who has an account here, via WebRTC, for example. Or someone who has an account here on this small box at home can call someone at a company here or share a file with someone over there. Like a distributed and a federated architecture. Something that existed in the internet forever, but something that's lost in a bit. So this is what we are trying to build with Nextcloud. So Nextcloud is in its core, it's an open source, free software alternative to Dropbox and to Google Drive. So in the core of it, you can manage your files, you can upload your files, you can share your file with each other, you can integrate it with your storage, you can integrate it with your LDAP accounts and so on. And the important thing is it's completely open source and you can host it yourself. So there are clients for mobile, there are clients for Mac, Windows, and Linux for the desktop. So you can synchronize files to your desktop. So this is all comparable to the big services. There are features like Collabora Online, where you can edit your files directly in the browser. It's very similar to Office 365. It's available. We have WebRTC, Spreed integration. You can have like video calls directly in the browser. Again, completely open source, completely self-hosted, and completely federated. So we have very powerful features to protect the data. So as an administrator, you can basically decide who of my users are allowed to do what. So you can say, people in this LDAP group are only able to share files in that folder with that file type with someone which is on my whitelist or in a special IP range or on a certified device at a special time and so on. So what you can do, you can basically you can enforce your corporate policies regarding data flow. It's a very powerful feature. So that's an example of federation, how we do federation. So this might be just a photo gallery of my pictures, and I want to share this with my colleagues and with my friends. And what you can do, you can click on the share button, and then you get a list of users. And if a person is not in the list, I can still find people on other servers. So that's a powerful concept. So you can find people on different servers. You can just click on them, and then one server sends a request to the other server and say, hey, okay, here's a sharing request, do you want to accept it or not? And then those servers talk to each other. And this is all possible without a central instance. So what we do is this self-hosted file sync and share product. It's completely open source. You can run it at home. You can run it in your company. It uses only open standards, and it's fully supported. So if you're looking for a support contract, this is something we can offer as a company. But if you're not interested in that, it's completely open source. Just go to the website. You can download everything and can use it. Thank you. And I hope that we still have time for some questions.
A lot of time for questions that are really 5 minutes. That's cool.
A lot of time.
Do you have any questions? None? Where? Ah, you've got the eye. I didn't see her. Ich habe sie nicht gesehen. Entschuldigung.
One question regarding data privacy. You were talking about data privacy. Could you give some kind of examples for that?
Yeah. So some of our customers work, for example, in the automotive industry, and they have some regulations where certain documents are stored. Another customer of us is the federal government, so the Bundesregierung here in Germany, and they obviously want to make sure that certain documents don't leave the country, for example. So what you can do is you can run Nextcloud in hosting centers that are certified or maybe even in-house, and you can create certain firewall rules where you can say, okay, it's allowed to share data with people outside the country, but only for certain people, certain documents, and maybe there's an auditing log where all the access is logged and so on. So you can basically enforce the law that exists for the old world. You can basically apply the law to the cloud computing world.
It's a very common requirement in the automotive industry. I remember that, I don't remember who it was, a company who built thin clients, had to integrate 3D drivers into their thin clients because they had workers in India and they should work with the 3D software for design of automotive parts. And they were not allowed to download the whole cut, the whole design file to India, so they had to work remotely. That's a typical case, so they were allowed to see their part of the screw, but not the whole motor.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays there are documented cases of espionage. Right? You don't have to be a tinfoil head guy. There are documented cases of espionage for the Airbus case, for example. There are some other cases in the automotive industry. So yeah, it's important to protect your data.
Any more questions? One lady over there.
Missed.
Yeah, it works.
The key topic of your presentation, the mobility aspect, or the importance for the mobility. I mean, I think everybody is clear about that it's important to connect the mobility sectors, but what are the challenges, or which challenges do you see in this branch?
Yeah, so that's true. So as you all know, cars are real small computers, or maybe even big computers nowadays, right? Which means they collect a lot of data, they collect your driving habits, they collect who drives which from where to where. With the share economy, obviously it is getting bigger. So basically what a car is doing is it's collecting a lot of data, which is a good thing. This is a great thing. It helps the consumers, it helps the manufacturers, and this is all good. But what I wanted to say as the main point of my presentation is that it's a bad thing if you have a centralized cloud service, which is basically closed source, You can't see what's happening there, you can't see who is accessing the data, and you can't switch to a different provider. So these cloud services are basically hard-coded into the car. If you look into a Tesla, it basically has their own internet connection, you can't even control it. It just happens in the background automatically, which is great. But you basically, you trust this cloud provider with all your data, and you don't have a choice. And by the way, this is not only interesting from a consumer perspective, this is also interesting from an industry perspective. Because we here in Germany, I mean, it's very convenient to upload everything we do at Amazon Cloud somewhere, but it basically means that we really have to question if the IT industry here is really sustainable in 10 years. Because if the main infrastructure where everything is running somewhere else, and you don't even have a choice. You don't have a choice. Even if a startup would build a better cloud service here in Germany, you can't use it because it's all hard-coded. It's not documented. It's not open source. That's a problem.
Good. Thank you very much. Great.
Thank you.
Wonderful.